Folks, look, it's after 9, so we'll kick on, as I can say, on time. So welcome, everybody, to the latest EXO workshop. Who have we got further to the field? We've got some folks from Birmingham, Wellington. Anybody else further afield? No? Well, okay, so Wellington wins the prize. Okay, so thanks for coming all the way from Wellington. The rest of us well, good luck. In actual fact, speakers excluded. Oh, Craig's joining us from Australia, so he's flying in yesterday. But there's weather over here across the same here, so
good to see you put it on for me.
Yeah, 20 grand, please take a seat. So look, let's kick off. I think I've got a beeper here somewhere. So, are we ready to unlock the power of your ERP system? Yes! Yes, please. I'll just get this clicker working. Well, I won't. My assistant will just flick me through to the next slide. Ta-da! All right, so focus today. The team joining us, we've got Andrew sitting over there. Andrew's our branch manager and one of our directors. Myself, we've got Alex, whom most of you will probably know. Heather, raise your hand, and of course Sarah here as well. So we've got a good representation from Focus. We've also got folks joining us from Invercargill and Queenstown. I think we've got Rob down there.
Yeah, Pipe and Fittings.
And Coke. So good morning to you guys down there. Hopefully you can hear us okay. Good. Okay. Next slide, please. All right, so first off, some housekeeping. Emergency procedures. Craig, you're probably not used to earthquakes, but us Canterbury folk are. So if there's an earthquake, drop, hold and cover. When you get the signal, out the door, down the stairs, out to your left is the assembly point. Okay. Toilets, hopefully by now you will know where they are, straight out the door on your right. Introductions. Now, this is new to this workshop. In front of you is some cards and some big bold pens. Could you please write your first name and your company name? And then face it outwards so the people sitting opposite you can see who you are at a quick glance.
We're on a budget.
On a budget for pens, so make yourself known to your neighbour. Wonderful, Cassandra. Evening. On, switchboard, good. Wonderful, so I'll let you do that. Feedback forms. Now, putting these events on is wonderful. We love doing them and we love having you here, but it's good to have some sort of feedback from you. What worked, what doesn't work, what you want to see next time, those sorts of things. So it's very helpful to help steer our conversations with you. So please don't leave without filling out the feedback forms. Sarah's going to be waiting at the top of the stairs and she's going to intercept anybody who doesn't give her a feedback form.
I've got a list and I'm checking it twice.
Great. Next slide, thanks, Sarah. Okay, so the agenda for today. So it's the same sort of format. We've got an hour hearing from Focus. Then we've got a couple of guest speakers. We've got Craig, of course, from Focus, and we've got Gilbert down there from Hunter Furniture. They're going to give us some of their insights in their business. And then it's basically the open floor. Now the open floor is changing this time around where we've got some quick tips. So there is a section that we're going to give you some quick tips and we'll show you through the EXO to do that. So, were you all in the right room? Yes? Good? Good? Next slide please, Sarah. So the user group, for those who haven't been before, so this is bringing you all together to have collaborate about EXO. EXO is a really big, broad product. Sometimes it's very hard to understand it fully, but I think collectively, when you start sharing knowledge or sharing how you use it, sharing challenges, we can actually drive that utilisation that much further, and therefore in turn drive more value from it. So unless you're someone like Alex who's been doing it for eons, you're going to need to sort of collaborate with other people. So please exchange ideas with your neighbour, raise questions as you think of them, and start to contribute to the conversation. So it's all about a contribution, okay? We will bring software vendors in from time to time. Obviously, they add more value to the platform. So we'll keep that thing going. Oh, it's a bit about me. Blah, blah, blah. So my role is sales primarily, well, and account management, but it's all around the ERP. And as we're here today, it's to unlock the power of the ERP. TAP, as I mentioned before, can be quite a big investment, so it's good to try and drive the value out of different businesses. So I'm the interface between, I guess, our more technical team and our client base. Wonderful. So what's new and exciting? New releases and focused news. Well, I don't know if you all heard, but we got a Callahan Innovation Grant a little while ago. Did anybody hear that news? No?
Yeah.
You did?
Big news.
Yeah, great news for us. We cracked a couple of bottles of champagne. Great, exciting news for us because we, as you know, we're an excess of an ISV, much the same as Craig, and we're investing in our software for Time Track, the EXO product, which some of you use. So we've been able to bring on another developer and extend the value that, or the reach that this product takes to the market. So that's pretty exciting news for us. And I think if you hit the enter, Sarah, there might be a photo coming up. Yeah, wonderful. So there's Rod, very smiling, but he's just won that award. Got the grant, good news. I think it was a couple of years in the making. Was that right, Andrew? 18 months or
It was
so?
18 months of submission. The Callahan Innovation Project team are really good to work with, and that they guide you all the way through the whole process of applying for funding, and they actually coach you and mentor you in that process. So whatever gets in front of that team of approvers is pretty much guaranteed to be passed. So they do a lot of work at that sort of preparation stage to make sure that those people that are actually applying, those businesses that are applying for the grants, are very serious about what they're doing and they're complying within the guidelines and that sort of thing. So it was a great experience actually to go through. And to get $160,000 funding, that for us, that means that there's now 2 developers that we can put into our development team that will be funded for the next 4 years. So it's going to work really well for us.
Thank you. The other thing that we've just launched is a rewards program. So this is a bit about a referral network. I think, Andrew, you might have...
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this.
Yeah, yeah, it's coming up next. Support plans, so you might remember we talked about support plans, so we introduced the support contract out for EXO clients now. So that's going well. Brian from Award, you guys have got it. We've got a new report that you may or may not have seen, so it talks about how many hours you consume, what the level of support's been, all those sorts of things, so we're quite excited about that. So if you've got any questions around support plans and how we build them and report on them, please come see me. Now, the reports program. So,
yeah, so I'm just going to pass you this a copy of the slide. So you may or may not be aware that Focus has pretty much had a soft approach to marketing since we founded the company 20 odd years ago. And pretty much our growth has been from referral business. And that's been very, very important. So it's our clients and their perception of us is very important to our growth strategy. So what we've actually decided to do is take a more formal approach to our rewards program. So clients who are prepared to refer prospective clients to us, we are now going to recognise, and we're going to take a two-pronged approach to that. One which is based on if we can get the prospect to a demonstration, there'll be a small incentive for those clients that have referred that to us, and we'll pay a $50 voucher for that, for doing that. Then when we actually progress that opportunities right through to a sale, we want to give you some reward and recognition for that. And that's based on the second reward there, which is $500 to $1,000. So there's some reasonable money in that, but it's a serious business for us. So we just want to sort of formalise that for you. There are some conditions around that. So, you know, we have to make sure that you go through a process of ensuring that the prospect that you are referring to us is happy to talk to us and is genuinely interested in software. So if you have a look at the base of that document there, that gives you the basic terms and conditions. If you are interested in getting involved in this program, please talk to myself. I'll be around later on at the end of the session. But it's really about giving you the opportunity to actually get a little bit for yourselves for actually referring stuff to us, because we do appreciate the fact that you do actually genuinely support us in the way that you share the word, share the message.
Spread the word. There's some money in it for you. Wonderful.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I want to cover.
Okay. Now I've just got a message. I've got to stand in front of the camera, so I'm going to have to move my left here and drive it. So thanks, Andrea. All right, getting down to the theme of today's workshop, what is business intelligence? But before we sort of look at what is business intelligence, let's put it into some sort of context. What's the problem we're actually dealing with? You know, there's a huge amount of data that's happening. I don't know if you've seen some of these figures, but 2.5 exabytes of data is created each day. Now that's a phenomenal amount of data. So we're getting a lot of data. It's doubling every 40 months. There's some terms there I hadn't even heard before, zettabytes and yottabytes. There's some descriptions on how much data they are down there. There's more data going across the internet than ever before, and every second, so it's phenomenal. Businesses are capturing a lot of data on people. Walmart, for instance, are capturing a lot of transactions, 2.5 petabytes every hour from its customer transactions. Now that's phenomenal. It's made people like Amazon replace bricks and mortar bookstores, because Amazon are able to analyse what people are buying, what they're not buying, what their preferences are. They're getting a whole bunch of data to make business decisions on. So the problem is we've got a lot of data. How do we consume it? How do people make use of that data? If you want a technical explanation on exactly what BI is, Forrester Research have come up with this one, but it's around methodologies, processes, architecture and technologies. Those are the core thrusts of BI. But importantly, what does it do for the business? So it's all around operational insights, decision making. That's the outcome everybody's looking for, is to get the right outcome, the right business decision, based on some intelligence, not just guesswork. So you can see there it's made up of, BI is made up of a number of, from a number of places. It's information within your business, from your management team. That's a lot of the old gut feel. I've been doing this for 50 years. I know what my buyers want, that sort of inside knowledge. And then information technology, i.e. the data that's out there, the machines that we use to capture it, the tools that Craig's going to talk about a little bit, and Heather and Alex as well, around how do we analyse it, how do we make something sensible of that. So it's about external data and internal data coming together to give us some intelligence. Yeah, all make sense? Good, a lot of nodding heads. Good. So who's using BI today? Some form. Great, you're using it. Anybody else? No? One? Yes, I know you are, Gilbert. Wonderful. Yeah, good. Anyone else? No? As a consumer, you've probably got BI at your fingertips. Let's run a wee question on this. Okay, who can tell me right now how much their electricity at home is costing them per unit? 29 cents. Right now. Wonderful. Anybody else? Well, mine is 14.9 cents. I can bring that up on my mobile phone at any point in time. I buy my electricity from Flick, and they use a spot market, and it gives it to me every 15 minutes. I can know exactly what I'm buying in electricity. So I can change my lifestyle to suit. I can put my washing machine on late at night. The point here is it's about information to me, the consumer, so I can make decisions on it. So as a consumer, I might be a consumer of your products as well. I might be one of your customers. So what information are you giving out to your customers? How are you empowering your customer to make the right decision? So business intelligence. So we've talked, to date, there's been a lot of uninformed decision making. It's all around this gut work, this gut feel. I've been in business 20 years and my buyers always buy this every January. So there's a lot of that gut feel that goes on. So what's happening now is the functionality is becoming a lot more prevalent. It's becoming a lot easier to get hold of. It's becoming a lot cheaper. Years ago, I did some work with a very big multinational company, and they spent $5 million just on their BI project. There was all sorts of data warehouses here, and it was expensive tools there. It was just eye-watering stuff, how much they had to spend to get their business intelligence underway. So cloud's really pushing the functionality down the cost frame, and it's making it more available to each and every one of you. And I like this quote down the end. Without BI, companies make most of their decisions based on that hippo. Did you hear that expression before? Highest paid person's opinion. I'm the CEO. I've done it this way, and we're going to keep on doing it that way. So that's what a lot of decisions are based on. Now we're shifting to more analytics, more actual true data. Benefits of BI, quite considerable. So Gartner, again, a very good research company. If you're ever interested in this sort of research, though, the guys to go to Gartner and Forrester are probably two of the top two. So they talk a lot about accuracy. I think that's pretty easy to understand. Visibility, what's actually happening, what transactions, who's not buying, why they're not buying. Collaboration, profitability, competitive performance. These are all enablers for businesses. I suggest that you'll run them. 1% of the data currently at the moment is used in business making decisions. So if we look backwards, all of this data that's in front of us, there's only 1% globally that's actually used in any sort of BI context. The rest is, oh my goodness, it's too much data. How do I analyse it? How do I get it into a consumable format? Look at that, spot on time. Right, BI tools and EXO. Now I'm going to hand across to Heather. Heather's going to talk about, okay, you've all got EXO. What have you got available to you now to use?
Thanks, Bruce.
So I'll introduce Heather. Heather's one of our senior consultants. She's many, many years of experience, very, very passionate woman about driving business processes and bringing new innovation to businesses. Those of you who work with Heather can probably attest to that. When she's not at work, she loves her stand-up paddleboarding, chasing her children around. Child, I should say. Heather, over to you.
Kia ora, welcome everyone. Now, I better introduce Annette, who snuck in the door. Annette, we've already done around the table, so we can't leave you out. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself for everyone?
I'm Eddie, and I'm the
Where else is it?
Yes, well, you can write your name on that sheet. You've done it.
Okay. EXO has some powerful inbuilt tools, and today I've chosen two of these that I want to demonstrate to you. So once I'm driving, I'll feel much more relaxed. But the two we're going to talk about are Analytics Module and the Sales Analysis Matrix. Some of you might be familiar with them, and others of you may remember the old business management reports. The Analytics Module replaced that back in the 8,000 versions, and it's a lot more comprehensive than the old management reports used to be. The Sales Analysis Matrix, also sometimes called Sales Analysis Designer, is another tool. So I'm going to go through and demonstrate for you the Analytics module and some of its features. The module itself is actually a separate EXE. So like config is an EXE or fixed assets in EXE, it's completely separate and you can send it to your desktop as a shortcut. And the great news is it doesn't consume a core license. So you can have it running on your screen all day. The screen that we're looking at the moment is the first screen that comes up. And I don't have a laser pointer, but I can just manipulate. I know, I'm great with arms. This is the Analytics module when you open it up. You're presented with this screen. Up on the top right, you've got a date. And this date represents the day of the snapshot. If you drop that down, and again, if you've had a look at this module, you might have been a bit like, well, not every day is there, and why is that? How does this work? What it's designed for is it takes a snapshot every single day, especially if we program and schedule it to, preferably at 11:55 at night. And that stores that whole day's data. Everything that has been inputted into your system into most of the areas is captured and saved. And that allows you to then report on it and view it in a really great visual format. So you're actually going to capture all of this data that's pouring in throughout the day and translate that into something that you can clearly see in a great visual format. So today is 2nd of August.
So, and by default they are scheduled to do that? Or
no, we need to set that up. Yeah. You also might have noticed when you do your end of month roll, there's a little tick box that says, do you want to take a snapshot for analytics? Okay. If you just tick that and that's all you do, that's going to do one monthly snapshot for you. So you could click into here and that's going to bring up that information that was captured at the point you've done your end of month roll, which is also quite handy if it's capturing the month to date range for you. But ideally, a daily capture would give you more information that you can flip back.
So does focus have to do that, or how do we set it up then?
We'd probably schedule that for you as well, so yeah, something to overrun at night. The The actual screen itself, when you land on this, is a dashboard. A dashboard is just an area where we can dock reports or widgets onto. This particular dashboard has 4 reports docked onto it. You can move these, make them bigger, smaller, get rid of some if they're not applicable, or add your own custom widgets. This sales summary here is going to tick along. This is going to show you your data invoicing that's going through in the day. Depending on the refresh rate that we've set in the setup, or if you click on your calculate button, which will also refresh the data immediately, that will bring through instantly what sales have come through from your data invoice lines. So you can get a picture right throughout the day. You can drill it down into this by branches. You can immediately see what's happening throughout the day. It's going to enable you to perhaps get on the phone, call a branch, what's happening, not selling anything, to keep the doors locked. It's just a tool to let you see how you're going against the daily. You can load your budgets in, so you can have some comparisons there. Your days so far, days this period, can all be defined, and in your setup analytics day plan, you can actually specify what are work days for you, Monday to Friday, or if you're in retail and you have more weighting to sales on Saturday and Sundays, you can actually apply a weighting to those days specifically to help give you some clear information that you can see at a glance of how you're going today and month to date or year to date.
So you can actually just do that without having to push those debtors and creditors through to the GL?
Yes.
I mean, we've got quite an old version, so maybe no newer versions.
It's looking at where it's instant voice. It's a colourful report. If I look back at a day before, you can see that it's red. This is saying, hey, we've got some problems here. We haven't met this year to date. We're not quite right. So red is not so good. You need to do something. You need to it's a call to action for you. Green was everything's great. Within these other reports, you might feel like you're looking at just 4, but some of them are displayed in a way that actually gives you more than 4. So this one, the top 10 customers year-to-date sales value, actually has here some tabs at the bottom of it, which is going to give you some other reports as well. Again, you can customize this to suit yourself. This report might be better on its own tab and enlarged so you can see it better, so we can't really see all of the columns that are selected. And I'm running this demonstration on the Motorparts EXO database, which has got some really old data and missing bits and pieces in it. But it gives you the general idea how many reports we can have on this screen. You can easily come into them. If you want to see the top 20, that's your report. You can now see your top 20 customers. Little things like the actual heading of the report aren't going to change when you do that, but you'll get the data across the screen. So that's the sales tab. Your invoice list is going to list your invoices for a date range specified. You can drill and use your filter that data with your branches by salesperson account groups. And a really useful tool here, you can see we're running a whole lot of margin information on those invoices there. We're only really interested in looking at the exceptions, things that we're perhaps not making money on, stuff that's getting through this morning. What got sold this morning that didn't hit margin targets? We can filter that list on just the exceptions. So somebody sold something here, it really hasn't hit margin we expect, and you can drill through into that and see the stock item that has been sold. Get on the phone, make a call, action something. So again, we're talking intelligent tools that allow you to make a call to action. You can react to this. You don't have to wait until the end of the month or the end of the quarter to see that you've had something loaded at the wrong price. Somebody's been merrily selling it and you're not making enough margin. The order list, this is just displaying a single widget or report on this screen. Some people might find your order list ticking down the screen quite useful. You can again filter it. For me, I felt that it was an unused screen. I'd be inclined to dock some of those other bigger reports that you want to see a full format bar graph showing. Very easy to do that. Get rid of that one. These are widgets. Some of you may have heard of widgets. Widget is a report, basically, in EXO. Slightly different to a Clarity report because you can have pivot widgets, different sorts of widgets. Widgets need to be added to be accessible. That's one key thing that you'll want to do if you think, I want to see all my widgets. When you set up your widgets, you have to make them accessible to different modules in EXO. But just because you've created one doesn't mean you're going to see it in a drop-down list in all of the screens where you do have this little blue plus sign. Does that make sense? So when you're setting up a widget, you'll probably be in config, EXO config, and as part of that widget setup, there's some checkboxes that you tick to say which modules can view this widget. And we would tick all if we want this to be visible in all applications. Or if you have something that you just want only, perhaps yourself as the manager or CFO to look at, you only want it visible in the analytics module, you'll possibly be the only person running the analytics module, then you would have that ticked as only visible in analytics, and it would only display in this list. So from here we could say we don't really want the orders list by default to come up, we want debtor list of debtor invoices perhaps. And bingo, we have a list of debtor invoices. We can make that smaller and we can dock, we can undock this and hover it around and it will shoot off to those four corners of the docking screen to customize it. Again, you've got the drill through capability here, so you can right through to your transaction immediately. You can see something, you can sort this list, normal sort orders apply, so you can sort by trade state, it's a normal grid, and right-clicking gives you your select visible columns, so you can get rid of some stuff that you don't need to see, make it easy to look at a glance. You want to save that layout, you literally save it, give it a name, my layout, and next time you open the analytics, it's going to save those changes in that view. The stock tab is particularly colourful, and again, the key report on this that I believe is one of the most powerful tools is the stock summary report. Just make that a wee bit bigger. Again, you see how you can move these things around to suit yourself. This is a valuation report, and the information that this is using is defined in your setup analytics info. This is something you'll do once when you set up to use your analytics. You'll choose what your default valuations are going to be, and you'll tick if you want to use these settings here to work out your annualized stock turn key performance indicators. If you just want to exclude quotes from sales orders, you've got that option there, and you've got an option post time to calculate sales. That means, do you want to take the sales that have actually been keyed in today, like literally somebody has keyed this in now and dated it back to last month, or do you want to include that last month's invoice that they've done back in time, so exclude it from today's snapshot? I'd probably use post time because you're going to capture everything. Like it's right now they've done it, but it's obviously an option for you to set. Your refresh rate here as well is set for 15 minutes, although that can be changed. If you find any performance issues, we could make it hourly or just have it running at the end of the day. You can of course click your refresh at any time, and that takes a snapshot there of that button. When I was demoing this to my 4.5-year-old daughter last night, she gave me some excellent feedback. Starting with, what is analytics, Mummy? Great question, darling. I launched into this. She held on to it, was pretty good. She managed to get this far in the presentation to the stock tab. And at this point, I was moving these screens around and trying to find the bottom of this report, which was easier on my laptop. It's not going to look like this. Say there's some nice whizzy reports that had pie graphs, which looked particularly nice. That's what I have to do. She came along here, she looked at these, she said, they're colourful and it's got shapes, Mum. I was like, you've nailed it. This particular analytics tool is about the shape of your company. Yes. Off you go. Go ahead with the chocolate. Thank you. That was a gem. Everyone's going to love it. you really are going to be able to look at these screens throughout your day, just glancing as you're running past your desk, having a look at this and seeing the shape of your company. If it's starting to look bad, do something. Again, call to action, make a change right now. Your finance tab does look a bit scary at first glance due to the amount of information on it. And these pivot widgets here, which I will leave Sarah to tell you how to drive. I'm not remotely going to touch them. They are set up here in a customised form for you already, so they're just going to work quite nicely. You have the ability, though, to drag and drop these pivot widgets around and shape your data in a way that's going to suit you. Again, don't overlook that you've got extra tabs. So down the bottom here on your display for your total aged balances, you can view that. Oh, that's it. There's the pie diagram. She must have lasted the finance tab. You can view your data in a way to suit you, and of course some of those will make more sense than others, depending on how you're displaying them. The data, you can at a glance, again, see what's happening. You can drill into these details, and if you get quite excited, you can get to the SQL and have some quite good fun in there. I don't advise you do too much there without running it past us, but have a go, see what you can do. Essentially there you may want to just remove some of the data or perhaps put some filters in here. The Purchases tab, fairly self-explanatory. Again, you're getting a snapshot view of a huge area of data in your business consolidated into this one screen for you. You can sort through your supplier sales history. You might see that you've got a top supplier who's you need to push for some discounts. Hey, you're really sending some dollars their way. Get on the phone to them. And you can see some invoices there. Anything that perhaps takes your attention is what's that about. I just need to see who's been spending all this money on their data off the telecom. And you can sort of drill into that straight away. You do have the ability in Config to add 2 custom tabs, so I've added those. And I have docked a widget here, which Will Howard, one of our newer sales consultants, has designed, which shows you a graphical display of your bank account balances. You can add 2, 3 bank accounts if you want. This is showing one with some activity and one without, the green line. And again, this can be quite a nice display for you just to see where you're going and perhaps allow you to plan for the next day, especially if you're tying in to your sales for the day. You know what money is going to be deposited that night ahead of time, and you can help plan your cash flow for tomorrow at a glance. Right, so that ends the analytics module as such, but buried within here is the Sales Analysis Designer. The Sales Analysis Designer is also on your core module. You should be as a menu option. But you can get to it here, which does save you from using the core license. So if you open the Sales Analysis Designer, I will very quickly build a report for you just so you can see how this works. This is using about, I think there's half a dozen to a dozen Clarity template type reports. You have, again, about just over half a dozen report types that you can use. If we build perhaps a 12-month sales report, come over here, and again, everything is preset. The good thing with the analysis matrix is you don't have to know Clarity to make this work, which for those of you who used Clarity might find that pretty fantastic. Hello, Jackie. Sorry, I didn't see you come in. The account number here, I'm going to group this particular sales report by primary group. This pop-up box is just saying it's going to overwrite the heading. Don't be scared to say yes. And in our heading, we can say here, my awesome report. And we can preview. Simple as that. We've now got a sales analysis report by our group, primary group, for the year because we did 12-month sales. We didn't have to format Clarity, we didn't have to lay things out, it's done for us. And if you think that is really awesome, but I want to see out of that report some filtered approach, perhaps you might want to add in what staff. You can come through to your conditions list here. You'll find that there's some really great stuff. You could choose perhaps staff, or you could filter that by branch, because there's obviously not much branch data there. We'll go to staff. Again, most parts, data. You see the list here we have to choose from is quite extensive. Sales staff. We might choose EXO, who has made a sale, and add that criteria. That's now added to our selection. Re-preview our report, and the EXO administrator made a sale yesterday. You love that, and you want to use it again. You don't want to have to remember what you did. You save that report. It's saved as a .sam file rather than a .clarity.clr file. You can then add a sales analysis report to your menus, and that is going to run from any of your core executables, or you can actually add it to your analysis matrix and have it in a list of reports here. So you don't have to remember what you did. You can just click into that, there's the data. You can print that, export it to Excel. And that ends my time. I think I just got the great big.
When you added that criteria, it looked like there's a lot of space. Can you keep adding criteria?
Yes, you can. Yep, build that up. And everything there was predefined. So it's, if I'd have selected a quantity report, the greyed out checkboxes about decimal places and different, there was a few different options there, would have been visible for you to select. So it's quite a intuitive report. It brings up, based on the information, the report type and the data you're selecting, it gives you the options that it thinks you're really going to need.
Wonderful.
It's quite handy. Thank you.
Any last questions? Any more questions for Heather?
You'll see this so I've printed off most of those screenshots from those tabs, and your sales analysis matrix. If you did want to know how many combinations you can have, they reckon 700 possible report permutations.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. So Heather's around, so if there's any more questions during morning tea or lunchtime, please grab it. I'm sure she'd love to show you. Right, now we're going to have a look at business intelligence with Excel, with Alex. Alex, could you come on up? So as you know, Alex has been with us for many years and has a wealth of experience in EXO, and his knowledge on SQL is very, very useful for all of us. He's going to run us through Excel now. Thanks, folks.
My youngest wasn't interested in my presentation. He had a pile of presents this morning.
Oh.
It's his 5th birthday, so exciting times in the Ball family. I'm going to be more fumbly even than usual with this, because I'm not used to having a touchpad that clicks, so I'll probably be clicking when I don't want to. Anyway, I guess following on from Bruce's introduction, traditionally formal BI software, think sort of OLAP cubes, it's been really inaccessible to small to medium businesses just because of cost, really, and complexity. So as a result of that, Excel has been the sort of default choice for a lot of SMEs analysing business data. Usually it's by way of sort of cut and paste and put a lot of formulas in there and sort of come up with some answers. Usually people have got Excel, so that's what they use. The BI space is rapidly evolving. Online offerings are now much more accessible for SMEs, and the question is Excel still relevant, or is it becoming a dinosaur? Question I've got is, are these statements true in 2016? So hopefully I'll go through a few things in Excel, and you can come to your own conclusion. I guess before we can answer whether we should use Excel for BI, we should understand the risks and limitations of using Excel as a BI tool. Obviously Excel is a pretty flexible tool, and with that comes inherent risks. There have been well publicised sort of financial blunders resulting from mistakes in Excel spreadsheets. I guess the problem with Excel is that it can be vulnerable to human error. Formulas can be broken, particularly sort of inserting data and getting to copy formulas down and that sort of thing. And if the data changes or your requirements change, it can be quite a time-consuming exercise to restructure that Excel to suit. So today I'm going to demonstrate how we can mitigate the risks and leverage Excel to effectively analyse business information from Excel in a way that optimises efficiency. We don't want to waste time bringing up reports and then copying and pasting data into Excel. So with ODBC connections, we can simply set them up and hit refresh, bring the data through directly from EXO. And if we don't have the connection to the database at the time, we can still work with the data locally in Excel. So if we're on a flight or something, we can still play with it. We can eliminate cutting and pasting, and that then in turn sort of reduces the breakability of the report. So if we don't have VLOOKUPs and that sort of thing in our spreadsheet, then chances are it's going to be a bit more robust. And I guess flexibility has always been a strong point of Excel, and it's going to, I guess, we'll have a look at pivot functionality of Excel in order to provide that easy to use analysis. So the steps to bring this together are firstly finding out where the data is in Excel that we want to bring through. And sometimes that may involve writing a view to sort of collaborate or collate all that data together so that we can easily fetch it from Excel and then configure our connection to get that data, and then configure our pivot tables and charts to then analyse that data. So, in the next few slides, I'm going to first of all talk about the data in Excel, in EXO, in SQL, and then I'll do a live demonstration of how to bring that into Excel. And then I'll use Excel pivot tables to analyse that data. And I'll give a brief introduction to what Power Pivot can do. And I think time won't permit to do a Power Pivot demonstration. But if anyone wants one at a later date, then they're welcome. So the data in EXO is moderately normalised, and normalised is a term that means that the data is split into several separate tables to reduce duplication. So that's best practice to optimise performance. It makes it a little bit trickier as far as reading the data goes. So we can write a view in the SQL database to bring that data together and make it simple for a reporting tool to then interpret that data. I guess the other benefit of a view is that if we've got a view with defined all those linkages and rules, then we can leverage that view from several different tools and get the same result, which is kind of good. Another wee gem is that EXO or MYOB have added a whole lot of predefined views that attempt to take that business logic and encapsulate it so that we don't have to think so hard about sort of how these things join together. So I've just listed those there, and we'll use one of these when we come to the demo to demonstrate how they work. So without further ado, I'll get into the demo. Actually, before I do that, can I have a show of hands who in their business brings EXO data directly into Excel by ODBCs? Okay. So I guess we have a broad range of experience then, so I'll have to try and cover the basics as well as maybe a few gems that may not be so generally known. So, let's see if I can speak. Excel. I'm using Excel 2016 here. I actually prepared my notes using Excel 2010, so hopefully I'll be demonstrating that it covers the bases. I'll try not to fumble too much. So the starting point for fetching data from EXO is to go to the Data tab and from other sources from SQL Server. And put in the name of our server. In this case it's Sarah 10, and we'll use username and password, which is the default mechanism for EXO. Put the super secret password in.
We can set up a different SA password for this sort of application if you don't want your main one to be buried in spreadsheets.
Now I'm presented with a list of the databases that are on the server, so I'll pick that one. And then I'm presented with a list of, firstly, all the views in alphabetical order, and then all the tables in alphabetical order. So quite a common challenge is just to remember that all the views are first and that all the tables are second. So when you're looking for a table that's beginning of the alphabet, you're not going to find it right at the top of the list. In this case, I'm going to use this one. And when I go finished, I get the option to either bring this data in as a table, or I can go directly to pivot table or pivot chart. In this case, I'm going to do table, so that we can just see the raw data. Oh, that's brilliant. So I managed to click on field other than A1 there. Now, one thing I'll just draw your attention to is that if we go to formulas and formulas name manager, you'll see that we've got this named range, and I'll just edit this to make it slightly more user-friendly. And I'll leverage that in the next little demo. It's not far away. But that's as simple as it is. One thing that I didn't mention there, which I should have, is we can save the spreadsheet and open it up at a later date and just go data refresh, and we'll refresh the data out of the database. So that's the whole point of doing this.
Okay, Alex, so you know that it's not required to get this information out like that?
No. So my next wee demo is just going to be on taking that data that we've just imported and using a pivot table in EXO to analyse it. So I'll try and cover the few things that I've got on the list there, and give you a demonstration of that. So the first thing I was just going to show is if we go Control Home, and I had put it in the wrong place there, it will take us to the first cell in the first active cell in the chart. If I click on Shift and then Control N, it's going to take us to the last field in the chart. And by that method, I've then highlighted all of the data in the table. An alternative to that is we go Find and Select, Go To. We can choose a named range that automatically created when we put the data in. If we go do that, it'll do exactly the same thing. So the first step in creating this pivot table is to highlight all the data. So we then go to Insert, Pivot Table, and it highlights there our named range, and it does that whether we've selected it with that Go To or just manually selected it. In this case, I'll create a new worksheet, a new sheet in the workbook, and there it is, a pivot table. It's not obviously showing us very much at the moment. When we click on it, we'll get a list of fields over on the left here. And I'm just going to move this one out of the way. By default, those fields will come in the order that they are in the data source, but you may find it easier to sort them alphabetically for this purpose. You can also use this field finder to select a particular thing. So, if we put in here period name is probably going to be most useful. We could drag that into columns. Branch, maybe, branch name. drag that into rows. Oops. You might want some sort of value. I value is the invoice value. So drag that into values. And now we've got something that is going to make some sense. We might also want to filter this because this is all the data at the moment. So year age, drag that into the filter, and then up here select the year 1. So now we've just got the 1 financial year there. And if I wanted, I've got this, but it doesn't look as neat as I'd hoped it would. I want to kind of reconfigure it. I can click on this defer layout and move things around, and it won't keep trying to update things until I'm ready. So say I want to put period number down the page and branch at the top, and then I can click update, and it just does it once. I can also keep adding things into this, so I'm not limited to one sort of column and one row. So maybe we want currency in here. Sometimes we want things sorted numerically, but the number itself isn't very distributed. Oops. The number itself may not be very descriptive. So in this case we want currency number, but we also want to know what the currency name is. So I've added both fields in there. That's given us this sort of hierarchy that we don't necessarily want. So we can go to options and change it to this classic pivot table view. And then we get this sort of view, and we can turn off these totals. Like so. And then we get we're not getting a subtotal for each of these, we're bringing that through. That is particularly useful for, particularly useful if you've got, say, stock code and description, and you want to sort by stock code, you want description there so you know what you're talking about. Very handy. Now, you might want to add in the cost. So now we've got the value and the cost. And we can tidy this up a bit. So value here. Cost. We can also format the number so that maybe we're not interested in decimals. And then we want thousand separators. Right, that's just happened on that one column, or that one value. We can do the same that one if we want to. Now, now comes the tricky bit. So if we wanted to show cost, say we wanted to show margin percentage, you can add a column a second time. And you can show that column as a percentage. Like this. So, say we did it as a percentage of the column total. You'll see that what we've ended up with here, and I'll just we can collapse the whole thing and expand the whole list as well. And real difficulties driving it now. Right, finally got there. So you can see that what we've ended up with is this percentage adding up to 100% here, which isn't what we were really looking for. It might be useful in some cases, but not what we were after. And likewise, we could change that to be a percentage of the row, and then you'd end up with them adding up to 100% across the row. If we want for each of the cells to be a percentage of the cost versus the value, or the margin versus the value, then you need to put a formula. So to do that, we'll go to
Has that moved between the versions? Some of these
things are a little bit in a different place, yes.
just a couple.
I thought it was totally seamless.
You're adapting well on the fly.
Yeah. Always pays check the environment.
So, what we can do is put a formula in here. And our formula for margin would be I L minus I cost divided by I val. We might give that a name. And that will now be in the list. And we just need to format that as a percentage, and we've then got what we're looking for. Which I won't try and manipulate. We would have an issue with divide by zero errors, so we just have to put an if statement into that calculation to handle that, which we can do. One final thing I was just going to show is a slicer. So when we clicked on our pivot table and the analysis bit, go and set slicer, and we can pick any field. So maybe account group one name. And then we have this dynamic thing that we can click on, and it'll automatically change all the data, effectively filtering by the selection that we've got there. Then you can multi-select. The other thing about a slicer is that you can set it up to control more than one pivot or chart. So I'll leave the demo at that. And I'll just give a brief introduction into Power Pivot. So Power Pivot's an add-on for Excel. In 2010 it was a sort of download you had to fetch off the Microsoft website. In 2013 and 16 it's part of Excel and it just needs to be enabled in the COM add-ins area. It comes into its own when your data that you're trying to analyse is big. So Excel has a limit of a million odd rows. So if you're trying to analyse more than a million records, then you'd be out of luck. And even if it was close to a million, it would be terribly slow. So Power Pivot sort of adds itself in as a sort of an intermediary between the database and Excel. You define your data in a similar way, pull it through in a similar way, but instead of going directly into Excel, it's going to this Power Pivot window, and you define your pivots from there using a very similar tool in Excel, but you can have unlimited row analysis. So there's a little slide that shows the differences. Power Pivot's very powerful in the sort of formulas and things you can do beyond what you can do in Excel. Here's a slide about how to download it. You have to know whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit. But if you're 2013 onwards, this isn't relevant. I'm not going to demo Power Pivot. I'm going to go to conclusion. So hopefully I've demonstrated how Excel can be a relevant tool for small to medium businesses to analyse EXO data without introducing undue inefficiencies or vulnerabilities. Even in environments where Excel is not favoured as a reporting option, it can play a useful role in prototyping, as it can be really quick to get those results and sort of fine-tune and work out what it is you're actually after. By directly connecting from Excel to EXO, we can make it very quick and easy to refresh that data and eliminate some of that risk associated with sort of cutting and pasting and formulas and so forth. Excel pivot tables to sort of add to that story, and charts, which I didn't have time to show you, work in a very similar way. Give you a very flexible way of analysing your data. If your data is too big to analyse effectively in Excel, and Power Pivot extends those capabilities.
Excellent. Thanks, Alex. Any questions for Alex while he's up the front? No, well, he's floating around, so certainly grab him at morning tea or lunchtime. And let's hand it across to Sarah.
Right, well, we're just going to deviate slightly from the schedule that's in your slides. I was due to present Easy View to you as a vehicle. What we'll do is we'll break for morning tea now because we'll redo that at 1:15, and then we'll catch up with a session later on. We'll just put it slightly out of order just so that you all get your coffee fixed when you need it. Okay? So we'll just...
So we're going to hold it there.
There we go. We'll hold it here and then we'll come back after morning tea in 15 minutes.
So we'll be back at 10:30? Yep.
Thanks.
Morning tea's served and just out for you there.
The first quick tip was on business alerts. Those have been evolving with pretty much every release of EXO recently. They've added a bit more functionality to the business alerts. So you can sort of have the reverse or invert of your business alerts now, which will reverse what's happening. Your business alerts are going to fire up. You can have them bringing up something quickly on the screen to block you from doing an action. So if you're trying to save a sales order and that sales order has a 0 sell price on it, perhaps you're going to block the user from saving it right then and there with a big message saying, don't do this. You've forgotten to put something on, perhaps you've just forgotten to put freight on, or you're selling it at the wrong margin. Or you can just have it as a warning only. It's going to flick through and say, you have forgotten freight. Are you really sure you want to do this? And they do actually click, yep, carry on. Third type of alert is a silent alert, where you're going to allow the user to do that, but in the background it's going to add that to a table that you can review as a log of things that have happened, where there are things you need to know about, and onto that you can bolt on, I want to actually be emailed if somebody does this in my system. I want to know quietly about it. Nothing on screen is going to show to the user that that's set up and happening. We do have business alerts that we'd be looking to put on perhaps a change of bank account number in your creditors. Things like that. Security, that's becoming increasingly important. We're seeing the amount of fraud that seems to go on that you see pop up in the news. One of the business alerts I did recently was just a simple one to replace the pop-up alert that you have on your debtors account, which is often a reminder of this must always be boxed or something. This freight must go out, it was. And we changed that to be a business alert that only applies to pop up to the sales staff, so that the rest of the company, every time they're doing something with that particular sales order, whether they're doing a quick supply process, invoicing at the end, they're not getting that screen. It's not relevant to them. They don't need to have another button to click on. So it's a time-saving thing, and it's quite a handy tool, quite powerful. The next one, drag and drop emails in EXO. Something hopefully you may know about, some of you won't, is that you can actually just drag from your emails something to do with you've got correspondence about the sales order, about the invoice, about the account that you're working on, drag that over and drop it into your history notes tab, and it will save a link to that email. You can then bring that up. So it's going to save it on the debtor account or the creditor account. You'll find these documents or history notes tabs are in more and more areas of EXO. Every release they seem to add that as an extra tab. So I think now in your sales orders, your purchase orders, you've got some notes tabs showing up there and you can save information. Events-based extra fields are a new WYSI type of extra field that's come out. They're on some standard tables of sales order header, debtor accounts tables, and they're a feature that you can use if you want data to be entered perhaps at a sales order stage, but you want that data to display on screen in an extra field further on in the process. So you might want that to be popping up on screen in a debtor invoice. I've done that recently for a client, Cassandra. I can't remember what the business purpose of it was now. It's been a few weeks since we did it. I think it was something we put on your sales order header that does flow through into your debtor invoicing. Perhaps something to do with this must be sent on a Monday, something like that. It's something you want to be able to key in that you do want to pop up later on in the process. An event-based extra field. Quick tip, calculations in your bank reconciliation. For those of you who do the mundane process of your bank rec and haven't started breaking bank feeds where it flies and it does it for you, you might be actually clicking and selecting things and thinking, does all of these receipts match the lodgement on the right-hand side of your bank rec, and using a calculator. In EXO, there is actually a little calculator. If you press the F5, it's going to calculate for you what you've selected, and the selected total will show down the bottom against what you've selected on the right-hand side of your screen. It's just something where I tend to go on site, people are sitting there with their calculator. And I'm like, did you know, just press F5. I've used this for 9 years, I didn't know that. Common phrases in EXO, again, the same sort of thing. I see people just typing the same thing, common phrase. You've got to send this in on Monday. You've got to do something every single time it's going through. You can add that common phrase as a narrative. If you right-click on your narrative, you'll get an actual option that says, do you want to insert a common phrase? There's also a quick shortcut to get that. You type in your narration and save it. And next time you can just access it quickly with your control and the apostrophe, choose from those narrations, press enter, and that whole little blurb is going to fire into your narration field. It's just a handy, quick tip. This quick tip is from our marketing assistant Courtney, who runs our Focus website, focus.net.nz, and the blog is something that she is very proactive with. We all spend a lot of time at Focus trying to document some useful things, stuff that we're coming across, common questions from clients, and adding those sorts of things to our blog. So if you want to search in our blog for things, you can do that. For example, end of financial year, we've just done that, and we were really pleased that we did have the feedback. A lot of clients did access that information to remind them what to do on those sorts of times when you do that once a year and you forget to tap the end of financial year button. Searching for that, you've got the ability to search, and all of the blog entries are tagged. So if you just want to look at cloud computing, which is something I was doing on our blog last night, you can just type in and select your cloud computing, and all of the blog articles that are related to that category will pop up on screen. There ends my quick tips. Was that quick enough?
Wonderful, great. Thanks, Heather. That's some good tips there. The pens were busy writing that down. That's good. Okay, so the next section is all around the Q&A. So this is the open floor part of the workshop. We've got a couple of questions there to start off with, so hopefully it's got some pre-canned ready to go. But let's deal with this first off. Number one, password each time I refresh my ODBC spreadsheet. Anybody want to talk about that? Anybody uses the passwords in every time they run a spreadsheet ODBC? No?
I'll take that one. I was just looking at the second question, and it's a little bit similar. With EXO and SQL database, EXO by default wants a username and password access to that database. And as you've seen previously, we can connect to that database using that username and password. You may not want to give that out to sort of all and sundry, because it gives complete access to all the tables in the database. So you can create additional username and passwords that have a more restricted access to the tables. And you can also use the Windows username and password and hook that up. And if you do it that way, you don't actually need to enter that password at all. But if you provide that spreadsheet to somebody that doesn't have user access, Windows access, it will pop up with a prompt to say enter your username and password. So yeah, that probably answers both those.
Any questions, comments? No? Jackie, you use ODBCs obviously in your business? Passwords are obeying your own?
Yeah, it's only paying people that have access anyway, so.
Okay, not an issue. Okay, good. All right, question 3. How do we represent sales information on a map? Anybody got an answer to that?
I can take that one if you like, please. As soon as we ever get a chance to see my voice. There's a product within the suite of EXO products that is called EXO on the Go. I believe you put in Graham, you were just getting it in. So it does a lot of the heat mapping around sales analysis for sales reps and everything like that. You can get it colour-based heat mapping, so red is your hot spot and then it fades out to a cooler blue where you may need to target your sales reps a bit better or maybe put a special oil in that area to generate more sales. It also does a stack bar graph as well if you want to have a slightly different visual representation of what's happening in those areas. And it just gives you the ability to target your sales reps and deploy them into the areas that obviously need a bit of work, or maybe you're getting a lot of sales in an area where you don't have a physical location and you think, well, I can capitalise on the popularity of my product in this particular town and I'll put a physical store in there, and we can justify that. You've got the sales data, you've got it all regionalised and everything like that. So it does give you the ability to do that. EXO on the Go is free, but it is an iPad module, so it doesn't work on Android or Windows or iPhone. It is just iPad at the moment, but we're hoping to get, MIB will give us some further development on that hopefully, and we can loosen up the restrictions around the platform. But it's good. It gives you a lot of analysis and visual representation of the same data, so it is really good.
So, show of hands, who's using on the go? Just one? Is it just you? Just one? You all know about it? We've talked about it before. It's a very, very powerful, useful tool, so I encourage you to explore its use. Okay, is there any other questions that you want to throw out there to the group?
I think I'd like to see the grids at EasyView.
Yeah, we can say that.
I think that'd be quite. Sorry, I'll just go really quickly.
Please, yes, yes.
My introduction doesn't work anymore because there was a morning tea joke there, so I'll just cut it out. But this is EasyView. Some of you will be familiar with it. Obviously, Gilbert, you use it, and Hunters and a few others around the room, and pods down in Invercargill have access to it as well. This is just a really quick demonstration of a pivot grid within EasyView. So you've got, you can see I've prepared this one in anticipation of running out of time. So you can see we've got everything related to debtor invoice lines in this grid. Well, not everything, but our key data relating to debtor invoice lines. We've got the debtor account number, and we've joined the table over to the debtor accounts table, so it actually can give you the account name as well. So what you're seeing here is a month-to-month representation of your sales to that debtor. Oh, this thing is just fun. So yeah, we've got a sales value there, and we've put the cost value of our sales there, and then we've got a wee margin calculated there. You can see that going on a month-to-month basis. Got a 3, a 4, 5, 6, 7, it goes all the way along. And as with any sort of pivot grid where you can sort of drag and drop things in, so then we might say we actually don't want to review it by debtor account, but what we'll do is we'll put it per stock code in there. So then down the side here, you've got all your stock items that you've transacted with during this period, and you've got the same representation along the top of months. But what we can do is we can say we don't actually want to do months, we want to put it in to sales process. So we can see Bridget's done some sales, she's done pretty well, David, and lazy old admin is just not going its way. So we come across here, and what EasyView does is it automatically populates these grand total fields. So you don't have to manually add them or put the calculation in yourself, but it does automatically populate that. And if we go down the bottom, we can see we've got the same grand total here. So that's just a really quick look at what a pivot grid in EasyView does. You can see the setup of it, and here, as you see, it's based on my demo data database, and then here it's just on the debtor inflows table, and I've excluded line type 1. These are all my fields, so to add fields is relatively straightforward. You've got you've got calculated fields and abbreviated fields and just regular fields. So a regular field would just be determined from the line, from the invoice lines table. So if we wanted to add batch codes there, we'd go like that. So, and then hopefully refresh. I had expected to see batch codes appear magically in there, but I think you might have to close it and open it back up. But anyway, so that's just a quick demonstration on pivot grids. If anyone's got any questions on pivot grids or EasyView as products, I do have one other little EasyView thing I'd like to show you that's pretty cool. So you can see I've got this other data accounts grid over here, and this is just a standard grid. It's not a pivot. There's no slice and dice in this one. But the reason that I brought this one in is you can see we can drag and drop columns all over the place. We'll just see the email address. So you can see we've got all that data in here, and this is all of our data accounts from EXO, just lined up, all the data, just the address and everything like that. So if you're wanting to do a quick update of some information on the data account, you can just edit the record in here. So we want to add, we've got a whole list of email addresses to add. And add me there. Yep, and I wish to save my change. Now if we just quickly pop into EXO, and you can see that it has immediately put my email address in there. So that's probably one of the key strengths of EasyView as a BI tool above something like Excel, is you can do all your data analysis, you can do all of your calculated fields, you can do all your charting and graphing and reporting, but then you can write back to EXO if you want. If you've got a need to do that, it can be written back into, and it's really good for updating extra fields that you may use for another type of analysis. So it can write in based off calculations and do all of that. So that's where its strength really lies, is it's the data is two-way, and it's lockable as well, so you can have a permissions level. So you may think that management only will have access to the writing back to EXO, so that's something that you can restrict on a per user basis. So you can lock it down so not everyone has the ability to make those edits in EasyView. Yes. Has anyone got any more questions about EasyView?
Is that live? Like if you do a slide today?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. As soon as it writes into the EXO database, it picks it up into EasyView. It refreshes on a 5-minute interval, but you can also do your manual refresh. Yes.
Any more questions there for Sarah or Siobhan? No?
Maybe just one other comment on the EasyView pivot situation is because it's got its own permissions, you're not having to build that sort of permissions level at sector level, which can be a lot simpler and easier to manage.
Yeah, so EasyView actually is its own table on the SQL database, so it has everything. It has its own user permissions table at that level where the groups are defined and users are added and moved between groups on the table level. So it's not inheriting any permissions from EXO or from SQL.
That's a good point. Thanks, Ross. All right. So, are there any?
Yeah, no, that's happy with it.
What about widgets? Is we going to discuss that?
Oh, yes, absolutely we can. I just thought we might be a bit short of time. I have set one up on my demonstration database here, which...
Is that based on EasyView as well? Or
not? No, pivot widgets are a different topic altogether. They get written into the normal widgets that Heather touched on earlier. And I can show you, I've written one that's similar to the pivot grid that I made for EasyView. So we can see it over here. It's just, pivot widgets are based on a SQL query. So you write your SQL query and you save it in the config section. I'll just quickly pop in and show you where that is. So may not all have config on your menu like that, and some people don't have access to config at all. So if you run into a brick wall there, give us a call and we can help you get that momentarily gone blind to the word widget. There it is. So this is where you add your widgets, and Heather discussed earlier the availability of widgets on the thing. So we just pop into the stock analysis one. Edit. I seem to be having an issue with that screen coming up. There we go. Here's the widget that I wrote. So pivot widgets are just a SQL query in the SQL box. And it's a very basic select statement. Maybe a little bit more of a complex select statement for this one, but can be basic. And this is the module visibility that Heather was talking about. So you can restrict it, you can have it ticked for all, or you can untick all and you can just have it on EXO Business. And you've got your choices there. So we'll just leave it at all. And the other thing she spoke about was menu assignment. So this is the business flow menus that you can add these to. So you may only want this widget available to the financial controller or to the administrator. So you would tick that there. So we've got that. So that's where all that lives in the setup and everything like that. There's actually a webinar if you're interested in learning a little bit more about widgets. Eddie ran a webinar a couple of months ago on them, and we're recording. We've got a YouTube channel, and it's available in our EXO users work group on LinkedIn as well. So if you do want to access any of those sort of historical webinars that we've had in the past, that information's all there. So that should be fine. So we'll just pop that to our actual widget, and that has exactly the same sort of functionality. So you drag and drop, you try, put margin data field, so now you can see the information starting to come through in a quite a similar way to what we have on this one with your slicing and dicing and your dragging and dropping. You can see that there, so then it puts it across the page so you can see your transactions per month. So that's how they work. They are dockable and lockable, so you just save your layout. Yes, I want to override it. And then that becomes something that's selectable from this drop-down box. So you can have multiple layouts, multiple staff members apply to multiple menu sets and permissions levels and everything like that. So it's very, very, very flexible in what you can present on these screens. They're also dockable. I think Heather talked about docking earlier. So you just sort of drag it by the header and you can dock it over to the side or at the top or the bottom, wherever you want to see it. And it gives you a graph as well. Yes. Colourful with shapes. Yes. The shape of your business. So yeah, if anyone has any trouble accessing those pre-recorded webinars on our YouTube channel or our LinkedIn EXO user group, just contact support and we'll just be able to flip through a link, no problems at all. All right. Thank you. Anyone's got any questions?
Before you let her escape, any questions, Sarah? No?
Brilliant, thank you.
Look, I'm a little bit conscious of time. Gilbert said to me earlier that he's got to get away at midday, so we'll keep him a little bit longer than anticipated. But before you go, Gilbert, I wanted to give you a bit of a token of their appreciation for making Lisa to come in and give us your insights into the business. So they go very much. Feel free to hop away as soon as you want. Right, where are we up to now? Lunch. I think we're getting close to lunch. I think we'll just conclude with...
Just saying.
You getting a bit hungry yet?
Yeah, no. These Australians.
So we will wrap up for lunch, but before we do, a couple of things. So Sarah talked a little bit about the LinkedIn group, so please enroll in that. Make sure you're a member there. There'll be information populated there from time to time. Comments, any questions, any sort of feedback, you can certainly sort of use that group to solicit such engagement. The next webinar we've got on the 25th of August, and that's around EasySync. Surprise, surprise. The next workshop's planned for late October. Any starters for 10, who would want to see what? We'd really love to hear your feedback. If you've got a particular topic in mind, we've got some conversations going on around EXO warehousing. We've also got some EDI conversations happening. That's our point of view, but what's yours? Let us know what you'd like to see for the next workshop. We can accommodate such. And another training session mid-August around EasySync for intermediaries. Okay. Feedback forms, I mentioned those earlier. Please take a couple of minutes to fill those out. That'd be really appreciated. Sarah's going to stop anyone leaving, I believe. And that pretty much concludes our workshop for today. So thank you everybody for taking the time out, and thanks to those speakers who attended. So maybe we could have a round of applause to say thanks very much. Thank you and enjoy your life.